To it, or like be open to like iterate upon it and start from scratch, because that really helps your portfolio grow. If you just keep making like smaller changes, it will be just incremental. But if you just scratch that off and start with a new canvas itself, it will really make that difference.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we have a very special guest joining with us. Hi Shivangi, welcome to the industry.
Hello, thank you for having me on this podcast. Great to be here.
Nice. So, if you could give a brief about yourself to our viewers out there.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm currently working as a product designer 3 at Google Store mainly. And that's not Play Store, it's Google Store like uh, Apple Store, but for Pixel phones and Chromebooks. So that's where I'm working, and I've been working at Microsoft with Page before. We were located in different locations, but yeah, so basically switching from Microsoft to Google. And prior to that, I was still doing my master's in design at IIT Bombay. And that's basically my background in design. And prior to that, I was doing my architecture. So we'll talk more about that, I guess, in the further podcast. But yeah.
That's wonderful. So, what was your journey into design? How did you start?
Yeah, so I think I was mainly intrigued by like drawing and sketching and doodling from school itself. And I was also good at maths and science. So I couldn't find like a common path between them. I think design as a term was not a thing in those years. So I found the common point being in architecture, where I could leverage both of those together. And slowly, after going into architecture, I realized, okay, design or like graphic design at first is also something that I can kind of see in web design. So I started doing like internships and freelance work into that while I was doing architecture. So that kind of helped me like build that like fundamental and base, and join clubs into like NIT itself in my bachelor's college, have that community, and then slowly like seep into master of design, and then like have a job in design.
That's wonderful. So, if you have to share key five learnings out of your transition from studying architecture and doing masters at IDC and then, getting into industry, what were the key five lessons that you have learned?
I don't know if like it would be good to have like 5 pointers, but like I would say, I mean, first would be like be open to new things and to change. I mean, you can't really have like a set path in your mind and then go ahead and build something. Like even in architecture, once you have a concept, the final design might be like really drastically different that what you imagined based on all the civil engineering instructions and all. And similarly in design, sometimes the tech is not there, or like what is possible, and maybe the given sprint is very different. So just keep an open mind, be open to opportunities. Things keep on changing. Second would be, I think, like, I don't know, it's very similar, but still very different. Okay, maybe not related to design, but I would say like prioritize the people over the work or the design, because it's more important to like have those connections and have fun while you're working. Because it's just like a part of your life and not the entire life at times that we forget. So be yourself, make connections, and have be fun, and like be fun to work with as well. Um, Thirdly, I would say it's also like important to kind of not be like just stick to design. I think a lot of the learnings kind of come from other disciplines. So I know a lot of people who come from varied discipline that bring their understanding into design, and that's really wonderful to see and acknowledge. So maybe like read books that are not just design, or like try to see podcasts that are not designed and see how that maps to your work and try to bring those learnings into it. So it's like a very wide kind of an area and still expanding with AI and other things coming into it. So like not restrict yourself, but like be open. I think five is a very huge number. Maybe these three would be good to go with.
Yeah, these are some really good pointers that you have pointed out. So now let's talk about your experience graduating from college and working at Microsoft and then now shifting to Google. So how was your experience like and how was the reality like? Because in college, the whole process and what they taught is quite different from what's it's been their industry. So what's your take on that?
Mhm. Yeah, so I feel like coming for masters at ITC Bombay was like really like opened up opportunities, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of inside learnings or like internal reflection as well, because it gave me opportunity to actually see like what I'm interested in, take on to that project and really drive them with a lot of passion, um, and kind of like pick those projects with very much like curated learnings about myself. So some of the projects like were really irrelevant. Like one of it was like finding the meaning of life and very like spiritual and like those kind of things, like writing poems and illustrations on that. So you're open to do that. One of it was just doing an internship at Samsung, which was really like giving the industry experience of how things happen in the industry, how you go and think about things, maybe not in a linear way, but still how to manage that ambiguity, still having something towards the end that could be built and be used by people. And third one was like I am a person who's really interested in board games. So I used to play a lot of board games before. So I just took up that and built two board games as part of my master's project. So I think it was like a very fun experience for me. And therefore I feel like everyone should do a master's to just realize like who they are and what they're really into. Uh, and when I came to the industry, I got, I think, really good managers and people around me that helped me kind of bring those learnings and storytelling aspects and kind of appreciated that and helped me like build onto them. I also felt like some of the things that were missing, maybe, or were not there, like maybe cross functional collaboration in the master's thing. Those things I got to learn slowly in the Microsoft system there. So I think that's what helped shape me, bringing me here to Google now, which has been just I think 2 3 weeks for so far. So good so far. So I'm seeing like what happens next. Let's see.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. So, after creating over 250 plus videos and engaging in countless conversations with creative leaders from around the world, I'm thrilled to share my book, Notes of Wisdom Lessons from 100 Creative Visionaries. So, this book is labor of love that has deeply resonated with the community, entering into Amazon's bestseller list and reaching the top 3 on hottest new release list. So, what makes me proudest is that many creative leaders have read this book and shared their remarkable perspectives on this book. The best thing about this book is its price. It's just priced around 500 rupees because this isn't about making profits, but it's about spreading a movement. So these pages contain transformative insights that can reshape you how you see the world through the lens of design. So find your copy on Amazon, available on worldwide, and on India we have Flipkart. So thank you so much for your support. Please share this book with someone whose life might be enriched by these creative insights. So together, let's champion the truth that design isn't just a profession or a skill, it's a beautiful way of living a life.
That's great. You also do a lot of mentorship online on TopMate and all, right? So there's this frequently asked question from the viewers is like how to make your portfolio effective so that they could land jobs. And since you did a transition just right now, you are a right person to talk about it. So what do you think are essential in a portfolio and how could somebody draft a portfolio?
Yeah, I mean it's just not the portfolio. Like for me, I've taken a lot of time to transition and kind of find the right team for myself. Um, because I didn't get that opportunity when I was transitioning from college to here because I got a placement in Microsoft, but I couldn't really pick the team or the people I'm going to work with, right? So I wanted to be very sure of where I'm going right now. And there are a lot of things and a lot of interactions that you have with the team and the company, which is not just like you kind of portraying and showing them what you do, but it's also about like learning about them and their work styles and seeing if that fits for you. So I feel like it's basically divided majorly into three chunks. One is a portfolio, of course. Second, I think, is the behavioral things that you do, and third would be like a whiteboarding or a live kind of a thing. So if we just talk about portfolio, that's just one third, but it's also like how do you kind of come across as likable? How do you storytell? So if we just talk about portfolio, I think it should reflect who you really are. It shouldn't just be like the same copy of things or the same section that everybody has right now, right? So if I just talk about my portfolio, my forte has been visual design and communication, coming from a communication background. So I always wanted to like tell those stories visually and kind of also trying to intrigue people with the visuals along while the portfolio is being shown. So like it would mean like really less text, just focusing on the stories, maybe some anecdotes, coming across as a fun and collaborative person, not kind of overwhelming them with a lot of information. And trust me, it does take a lot of time, even when you know all these principles, just to curate your portfolio to fit in all these things will take some time and a lot of iteration. So one strong suggestion would be like never stick to it, or like be open to like iterate upon it and start from scratch, because that really helps your portfolio grow. If you just keep making like smaller changes, it will be just incremental. But if you just scratch that off and start with a new canvas itself, it will really make that difference.
Since you have touched about the two other parts also, you could just talk about them as well.
Yeah, so uh, I think behavioral, it's always good to like be prepared. And for me, I think you can look at like the Amazon's interview process is like really streamlined, and they have like really broken them into a lot of different interactions with interviewers. And also, the kind of questions that you will come across is also kind of covered by Amazon. So they have these 16 principles. So I just went through all the principles. They have like videos of it, and try to think of, okay, when did I kind of showed that leadership skill, maybe in some of my work, maybe it's just a really small anecdote of where I portrayed it. I just noted that down, so when I'm giving those interviews, whenever I feel like, okay, this really fits in here, it was easier for me to bring that up. Sometimes we kind of forget and not remember. So it's really helpful to like be prepared for them. And also kind of using that star format. Like I know a lot of people talk about that, but if you really know, like I think in one of the Amazon interview videos itself, the leadership principles, it was mentioned and with an example. So that really helped me understand, okay, this is what it means and how do I apply it. So if you like practice it with that start format, telling all those stories, it will really be helpful in coming across as a good candidate for the position. And thirdly, whiteboarding, like you can't really like prepare for it, but I think still like look at some videos. I think there's a lot of content on YouTube itself, but see like how many variety of whiteboarding challenges could be there and what they're actually trying to achieve or what they're actually requiring towards the end. Maybe also think of which brainstorming method, because it's important to like ask the right questions first and then coming up with good ideas. So what framework you use? Maybe you use how might we. So maybe for how might we, you have like those list of 10 or 12 things of how you generate those ideas. Or if you're asking questions, to what depth you are asking question, or if you're asking the right questions, if you're asking the questions to what they've already answered. So cross questioning if you don't really understand those things, so that you're making sure you're actually targeting the right problem, and then making enough iterations like or ideas, and then kind of picking one, going ahead with that, and maybe coming up with one or two wireframes towards the end. So a lot of focus is not towards the end where the wireframe comes in. Maybe it can be a really shitty box diagram or anything, but it's mainly maybe towards the first half where you're asking the right question, and the second where you're generating those 4 or 5 good ideas that actually would be able to solve that problem.
That's a wonderful way of explaining all the three chunks. So let's talk about AI now. I'm for sure you are also playing around with different things and vibe coding and all. So what's your take? How could designers leverage AI in their work? And how do you see the role of a UX designer or product designer evolving with AI?
I don't see a lot of like AI being used in my process. I think I'm still kind of trying to see how it could really fit in. I think I'm in that phase where I'm trying out a lot of products and seeing some value, but not really kind of integrating it. So one of the things that I used to do is like using Photoshop to like generate some specific templates. So having common visual style, so it would create maybe some abstract images that I could use differently in the different slides, those kind of things. So mainly, I think in visual terms, I'm able to use it to a good extent, and in text format where it can like give me a textual idea of what could be the other ways to like think about it, and give a different perspective. But it's not really combined like having good ideas with visuals. So that's something that you still have to do as a designer, right? Um, Even with UIs art and all, they do create like some good graphics, but then it doesn't really make sense because I feel it kind of doesn't have the soul of like, okay, what was the thought process, what with what intent it was created, or like what problem is it really solving, right? So I feel it's still a long way to go to like completely uh, like replace designers, but it's still like a good aid to kind of uh, work through kind of a thing.
That's interesting. So second thing is I know that you conduct a lot of these workshops and you also give go talks also at different places. So how as a designer this has helped you grow and what advice would you give to somebody who want to try these things?
Not really. I've not been like a very extroverted person. I've not given a lot of talks. I'm kind of curating those talks, like still kind of reflecting upon like, okay, with maybe this experience of like switching, what all I've learned in this journey so far, and how can that really help people who are still trying to like get into the industry or trying to make a huge jump there. So it's still kind of a work in progress for me, but I think it would really help to like be prepared. So don't underestimate the power of like preparation. It's like being that swan, so it looks like you're just moving effortlessly, but it's like you're just paddling underwater a lot. So it's a lot of background work that goes behind that. I think it really helps to have those connections. So even Tej, I met through like we were trying to have an event in Microsoft. Um, so you'll get those opportunities with the more people you know, the more expressive you are. If they know like who you are and what you do, and if it's to their liking, they'll always like remember of you. Okay, when this is the opportunity, and I think this is the right person, will be a good fit for it. And that's how I came to this opportunity of doing a podcast. Similarly, I think one of the other things that I'm currently going to do a workshop. I know this person because we did an event together at Microsoft, and they approached me for the workshop. So it's mainly about connections and being on top of the mind of people so that they know when the right opportunity comes to like approach you. But yeah, after that, it's mainly about preparation, kind of self reflection, as I talked about, like what really could you actually provide um, there as your value, what you have learned so far, making it crisp and maybe in terms of maybe a framework or something, so that people actually take that back and are able to use that. I think that helps you also grow because they'll remember you if it really helps them. That's what I feel. But I think you do more of that, so it would be better to like learn from you.
That's wonderful, Shivangi. So thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful insights with us. So before we wrap up, want to know some book recommendations, resources, and podcasts that you can share with us and viewers who are watching. I'll be attaching all of them in description down below, along with links to Shivangi's top mate and LinkedIn and all. So yeah,
So mainly, I think the fundamentals of just being like my first book was the Don Norman, only the series. So I think that really helped, and I think one of the things that is missed out is emotional design. So that is really good and must read kind of a thing. Apart from that, I am more into like presentations and showing my work. So Show Your Work is another book. I think it's also a series of one or two like How to Steal Like an Artist and those kind of books. And then Paper Napkin is a really good one. So even if you don't have a lot of like artistic skills, how can you do that with like simple drawings? Now there's also an AI app that helps you do that to some extent. That is napkin.ai. You can even try that out, like put a chunk of text and then it kind of creates some sort of a imagery out of it. And yeah, other than that, I'm more into like spiritual books, more like so currently I'm reading like Rituals of a Happy Soul, and I kind of more towards that than reading a lot of design books. Maybe hear more of like podcast. I think random ones, not following any specific series. So yeah,
Those
that's mostly it.
those are some really good set of recommendations. Thank you so much, Shivangi, for sharing all these insights. And folks, if you have any doubts and all, please feel free to reach out to Shivangi. And thanks once again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a great conversation.